used to wake up in the morning and genuinely believe that I was going to quit alcohol that day. And I meant every single word of it. But somehow, some way, later that day, I'd find myself with a beer in my hand. And there were certain situations, certain moments where having a drink was just automatic to me. I used to think it was because I lacked willpower, but looking back, that wasn't it at all. And in fact, you don't need to have an iron will to quit alcohol. You just need to put a few little things in place and identify certain things about yourself to help you succeed. Now, the other day, I got a comment on a short I posted. At the end, I asked what their triggers are when it comes to drinking alcohol. And someone commented the word home. Now, I just want you to think about that for a moment. Home. Let that sink in. Because when you actually think about it, that's actually quite dark and actually sort of sad in a way. Now, I have said before about changing your environment, but from the framing of go to a different place. And luckily for me, that is what I was able to do. But I know that is not possible for the majority of people. And it's highly unlikely to be possible for you. And that for the majority of people, that is probably their biggest trigger. At home is probably the place where they do the majority of their drinking. Pubs, bars, nightlife, nightclubs have declined massively since COVID. Things have got nothing but more expensive. So of course, the majority of people are drinking at home. And I think, even though unknowingly, this person has uncovered the biggest trigger for the majority of people. The place that they live, the place that's meant to be peaceful. Your sanctuary is the place that is probably influencing you the most to drink. So here's how we combat that. First thing you're going to have to do is remove alcohol from your home. Because when you still have it in your home and you're looking to quit, the temptation is just too great. What happened to me when I used to try and stop drinking and have alcohol in my home, every time it was still in my home, I always failed to do it. I'd make up whatever reason or whatever excuse I needed to have a drink if it was in my home. And it almost creates like this little pocket in your mind that you know that alcohol is there. When you still have alcohol in your home, you're not taking it seriously. You're not going to stop drinking alcohol, even if it's just for a few days. If it's there, you're likely to drink, especially if you drink the majority of days. Now, the second thing you're going to have to do is talk to your partner. You're going to have to explain to them this is something you want to do for your health and your well-being and your clarity of thought. And that the best thing you can do is do it together. Make it fun for each other. Definitely if you have a partner, it's going to be extremely hard for you to stop drinking if they don't. And you're going to have to ask them for some support and help. If they're unwilling to stop drinking, maybe you can see if they're just willing to stop drinking around you. Just for the first 7 to 30 days. And I know that seems like a lot, but if it is something you want to do, even just for a couple of days, it's going to be far easier if you're not in any environment with alcohol. And that alcohol and being around alcohol in your home is just raising that level of temptation that will encourage you to drink even more. The other thing you're going to have to do is change your routine at home. And that may involve getting out of the house more in the evening. If you find yourself in that routine, stuck in that groove of you finish work, you come home, have dinner, watch Netflix, have a beer whilst watching Netflix, or whatever that specific situation is for you, that is going to have to change. And if you just replace having a beer that night with having a Coke, you're highly likely not to succeed at this because your brain and body have built up an addiction. It's about 6 p.m. I'm sitting down to watch Netflix. It's time for a beer, and your body and brain will expect it at them times. Them cues, especially them environmental cues, will point your brain and body in that direction. So whatever it is you need to do, get out and walk the dog maybe later than you usually would. Go on a hike, have dinner outside, play some board games, or have some fun with your partner. One of the best things you can do is change your evening routine. Maybe you can want to go to the gym and start working on yourself. That's exactly what I did when it comes to fitness, and it helped tremendously. I cannot recommend it enough. And also the plus side is when you stop drinking, you're going to lose loads of weight, because not only is it going to be the reduction of calories consumed because you're not drinking anymore, but also your body will start to balance out again. Your hormone levels will correct over time. You'll be getting better sleep and you'll want to do things. I also want you to think of what your home can become again. You know, it will hopefully change from this place that triggers you to drink. And I'm not saying your home is insidious, forcing you into doing it, but where you've built up that repetition, your brain and body expects it. These little subtle cues in your environment will influence you to drink, and you can change that environment. Home is meant to be where the heart is, right? And no heart likes loads of alcohol flooding through its system. Now that brings me on to my next point. Stress. See, I know how it is. You're at work, you're looking at the clock, you've had a shitty day, and you're thinking, oh my God, I can't wait to have a beer when I finish. And you're looking for that relief in the form of alcohol. But you see, unfortunately, what it actually does is create more stress in your life. Even if you only have a couple of pints, if you do that regularly, especially if you have to work the next day, you're making the next day so much harder than it needs to be, and it will likely lead to that day becoming more stressful. Alcohol will completely affect your hormones. It will affect your sleep and your recovery. It will manifest in ways like this. It will create a big deal out of something that is not a big deal. I know for me, when I used to drink regularly, I used to dread going to work, but not for a good reason, just because I was usually hungover. And even a mild hangover will affect your mood for the entire day. And it 100% will affect your hormonal balance. And of course, if you're a man, you want to have more testosterone than estrogen. And unfortunately, the reason why when you drink a lot as a man, you get a beer belly and boobs is because the estrogen is increased in your system. So your hormones are out of balance. That is what your beer belly is, along with the calories. But it's seriously affecting your body. And using alcohol to mitigate and temper the stress of the day is just making the next day harder. So of course you're going to experience stress. Just because you've had a stressful day does not mean you need to deal with that stress by having a drink. And once you overcome that behavior, you'll realize that dealing with your problems when you're sober is far better. Instead of being reactive to situations, you'll become responsive. People don't realize how much it really affects them until they become sober. And in ways, I feel that the man I was 6 or 7 months ago is so far behind who I am now that now I feel like a superhero in comparison. Give or take about 30 kilos of muscle, of course, right? But do you know what I mean? The way you can deal with stuff once you become sober and clean yourself up is absolutely brilliant. And it is literally, I'd say, the starting point. It's literally the main thing that holds you back in life. Addiction is terrible and it affects absolutely everything. It completely rewires your brain, changes the way you think. So what can you do to change your response to stress? And I will say just quickly, it is so hot out here today in the UK. Oh my God, I am starting to sweat. Unreal heat today. But what can you do to stop your stress response being alcohol? Well, I would definitely suggest, like I do all the time, exercise. Exercise is known to relieve stress. It releases endorphins in your body. So I'd say this is the best remedy. Instead of having a routine of stressful situation requires me to drink then or later in the day, have the routine of taking care of your body, exercising to mitigate stress. It definitely works. And imagine that. Imagine the calmest, chilled version of yourself. And I say calm and chilled, I don't mean lazy. I don't mean chilled in the sense of a stoner. I just mean nice, even temperament. You see problems arising, you deal with them pretty much then and there, but not in a reactive way, from a place of strength. And one of the biggest things is boredom that will get you when you decide to stop drinking. Say your normal routine is, having a few beers at home, which is going to be the majority, right, like we discussed. And you're just watching shows on Netflix and telly and things like that. When you remove alcohol from your life, at first, the everyday things will become extremely boring. And this is why I am a big believer in the routine change, because at first you're going to sit there going, wow, I thought the show was good, but it just doesn't hit at all. Or you just may find yourself not so able to enjoy it. One thing it will identify is the areas in your life, and it will do this very quickly, that you're probably very wise to start changing as soon as possible. When you start to leave alcohol behind, having a plan for how you're going to combat that and how you're going to deal with that by routine change to stop the trigger of boredom. Oh, I'm so bored. Have a drink, it will be more fun. And I guarantee you, if you're bored and you have a drink, it will be more fun. And you will start looking at your life like, shit, what do I actually do? I just sit around watching shit drinking, or I just go to the pub drinking. I tell you right now, I love pubs. I love beautiful old wooden buildings, especially in the autumn and winter when there's a fire roaring and you get that beautiful scent of smoke. And I used to love sinking a few in the pub, of course, right? Of course, pubs are awesome places, but they're far less awesome when you're not drunk. So it is going to take some time for your brain and your body to recalibrate and to adjust to having no alcohol. So don't be too hard on yourself at this time, right? But do change your evening habits, your evening routine. That is the main thing you're going to have to rebuild to succeed at this, because the majority of people will drink post 6 p.m. Perfectly normal. The majority of people will drink at home. People use alcohol to alleviate boredom. People use alcohol to mitigate stress. And these are the biggest things that will affect you. And these are the 3 biggest things that are going to trigger you into drinking. So before you decide to stop drinking and quit alcohol, you need to have a plan for this. I am actually creating a free 7-day program to help people give up alcohol, or to go alcohol free for 7 days. It always starts with a small step first, right? Once you get your first day under your belt, you're going to feel better about your second, and so on and so forth, right? It will be in the form of a WhatsApp group, because I found giving up alcohol something I did completely alone, and I found it really isolated me, and I wish I had someone to talk to who was going through the same sort of thing and the same issues. You can be there and relate with other people who are in the same situation or going through the same things as yourself, and you also have me there too to help support best I can and to help guide you through the process, so you wouldn't be doing it alone. And I I promise you this will make it much easier for you, and it's something I wish I had, and it's something that I don't see out there really. Everything is generally paid, even just like for a guide, and there's no guide out there, right? There's no guide that's going to be able to help you stop drinking alcohol. It really doesn't work like that. So stay strong, stay consistent, and just know that if you are quitting alcohol or attempting to, you are on the right path, because just having the thought of doing it is a great place to start. I'll see you in the next video.